Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Jeremy and Jackie here. If you could say a quick hello in the chat to practice that function, that'd be awesome. Good morning, Rach. Super.
Hello, everyone.
Well, welcome everyone to our second last Wellness Wednesday webinar of the month of May. Happy to have everyone here. I know I see some familiar names, so it's great to see we have a bit of a following. So that's always great to see. And again, my name is Jeremy, Health Promotion Specialist here in Kingston. I see we have Carissa from Edmonton, so really nice that you could join this morning. Thanks for tuning in. And I have Jackie with me this morning as my 2IC, who will be doing a quick intro on how to win our great prizes for our wellness webinars.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Good morning, everybody. I'm just here for a quick second, the beginning and end, just to tell you all about our amazing sponsor for our Wellness Wednesday webinars. Black Bear Gear has generously sponsored a variety of different prizes that we can give away each week as well as each month during our Wellness Wednesday webinars. Today, we are doing a live prize draw for all eligible attendees for a Black Bear Gear tactical pen. So if you are interested in entering yourself into the prize draw today, please let me know in the chat, and then I will add your name into the draw. And then each webinar you attend this Wednesday of the month, your name will automatically be entered into our prize draw at the end of May, which is, you can see the visuals there on the screen, a backpack, first aid pouch, and a Black Bear Gear t-shirt. So that will be the grand prize at the end of May. We'll do a draw for all attendees of our webinars. So in order to be eligible to win, you must be a member of the CAF community. So regular, reserve, retired military members are eligible, as well as family members 18 or over, and D&D civilian employees. And this is a local prize draw as well. Unfortunately, NPF employees are not available or not eligible to participate. So if you're in, just let me know in the chat and I'll add you to the prize draw, and then I'll come back at the end and do the prize draw for everyone. I hope I got all the details there. Jer, you can always let me know if I forgot anything or add something in. But have a great webinar, everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Nope, that was perfect, Jackie. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started with this week's topic regarding men's mental health. I think it is only appropriate to, start talking about this topic as June is Canadians' Men's Health Month. So I thought it was good to start introducing that and something to increase our awareness at this coming month, and something to, is so important to talk about, right? Because mental illness really indirectly affects all Canadians, right, at some level, right? Whether it be ourselves, right, or a family member, a friend, a colleague, right? We can really be affected by this, and so it's important to talk about it, right? And one of the goals here is also to introduce or at least share some resources that are available to our CAF community. And one thing that's important to understand is that mental illness really affects anyone, right? People of all ages, all education, income levels, different cultures, right? It can really affect anyone. So, it is important to talk about it. One thing, however, that is particularly important, and that will be the focus of this webinar, is how it does affect men in a unique way, but also in a particular way, right? And I think a big part of it is how men deal with mental health, right? It is a not a topic that I think is very popular to talk, that men talk about themselves with themselves. And so it's just something that I'm hoping to start the conversation going and increase that awareness, right? And I think generally speaking, right, everyone's different, but generally speaking, men really tend to internalize stress and often shy away from exploring their emotions. So, this is hopefully an introduction on how to on things that we can all do to promote that, right? So that we can move forward, and that men feel comfortable talking about the mental health and not feeling judged, right? Because there's also a big societal component on that we'll talk about today. And overall, it's really for men to understand that they are not alone, right? A lot of people are struggling. You don't have to struggle alone. And for those who like stats, right? Around 10% of Canadian men will experience significant mental health challenges in their life. Right? That is 1 out of 10 men. That is a very high number. And each year, approximately 1 million Canadian men suffer from major depression. So that's in a single year, and that's, again, so many people. So we should not be suffering alone. We should, reach out and use the resources that are available to you. And if you want stats that are a bit more specific to the CAF community, according to a survey completed among Canadian Armed Forces members, they reported that 31% of male CAF members experienced symptoms related to anxiety disorder at some point between 2002 and 2018. So that's 1 out of 3 male CAF members. And then for depression, it was 28%. So again, almost 1 in 3. So very high numbers, and just further proving my point that it is important to talk about it, and hopefully, we create a change and hopefully addressing this so that these people don't feel alone, and that they feel comfortable seeking help and using the resources that are available to them. So the objectives that I'd like to focus on today are, for one, addressing the real or perceived barriers to seeking help. And then also what we can all do to help, right, in this, and to help and do our part in this with this issue. And this is as much men as women. We all have a role to play, and I'm hoping to introduce some to you today. And finally, just talk about some available resources and support that are available for military members. So let's get started. So I'd like to first ask you, read this statement, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on this. So if a person has a broken limb, she will seek help. However, if they have a mental health problem, they probably will not. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think? True, definitely true. Agree. Awesome. Okay. Yes, I think that is sadly a very true reality in our culture, in a way of thinking. Any ideas why? Why do you think this happens? Or why do we think this way? Or yeah, I love how you bring up the talking about it, right? That is the first step to creating awareness, is to talk about it. And here, a great example on, it's more common to talk about a physical injury, but we just need to now flip that and also include mental injuries, right? The more we talk about it, the more it becomes normalized, and the more we will, society will accept it, and our own mentality in our culture. Colin says, invisible injuries, disabilities can be hard a hard sell with both the chain of command and peers. Yes, this now brings in the military side of that. And yeah, mental injuries are hard to really even diagnose but prove, and it's very difficult. Yeah. James says broken limb is absorbable. Mental health can be subjective. Yeah, and this is a great point where people who go through similar things might not experience it the same way and might not have the same repercussion from that experience or that event, right? And so that is also a big thing that is contributing to whether that be judgment or stigma or whatever regarding mental injuries. And Rach says it can also be hard to recognize in ourselves. Yes, and we will be talking about this too. Yes, fear of being seen as weak. All great points. Thanks, everyone. So here it is kind of general, statement. But if we think about, again, try to focus more on men, as this is today's topic, is what stops men from coming forward? What do you think are some barriers that men experience with mental injuries? Raymond says addiction can hide mental health. Yes, it's alcohol can be used to alleviate some of the internal pains that we may be experiencing, or alcohol or drugs or whatever that may be. So what are some barriers that you can think of that men may experience for them to seeking help for a mental injury? Colin says the social trope of the strong, silent type. Yes, being strong, being being able to withstand anything, right? Being seen differently by peers. Yes, and I think that's also very true in the military, right? The perspective of seeking help can be seen as weakness. Very good. Nathaniel says, in quotes, I am supposed to be able to figure this out on my own. Yes. Yes. And losing their identity. Yeah. Especially again, as CAF members, if you join in when you were 17 and this is all you know, this is obviously a big part of your self-identity. So yeah, very true. And it's not that bad, right? Try to reframe it, but maybe it is that bad, right? Others have it worse than me. I can just suck it up. Yes. I really like some of the wordings we will be using. I'll be getting into those shortly. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So yes, some barriers, whether they be real or perceived. And even that point, when I was creating this webinar, I was even questioning myself, what defines if something is real or perceived, right? Yes, some I think are very black and white, but in others it can be quite subjective, right? For someone it could be their reality, but for others, it could just be because of social constructs or whatever social norms are established, right? And Colin says perception is reality, of course. So here are some barriers that I, wanted to bring up, which a lot were mentioned. So I'm happy to see that, right? One of them is social expectations, right? I think that in Canadian culture, and I know I was raised that way, right? Boys are raised to be tough, to be strong, to be able to do things themselves, right? And figure it out. And when times get hard, right, you just push through it and you shake it off. However, right, there's times that it could make my life easier if I go and get help, right? I'm saying but this situation could be easier if the person goes and seeks help, right? There's that now notion that we want to try to to maybe, as if you are a father, right, try to raise, put that into your children's way of thinking on asking for help is not a sign of weakness, right? And also the preconceived gender roles in our society. So how there's certain behaviors and attitudes that are acceptable with men and others with women, but other behaviors and attitudes are poorly viewed, right, by society. So even those preconceptions that are just from our culture. Culture is hard to change, but if we all do our little part, it can be maybe a better experience, a better life for the future generation, right? It will take multiple years, multiple decades to change culture, but if we focus on it now and we all do our little part, it can make the life easier for our kids and grandkids. Another one, so seeking help is a sign of weakness, right? That should be in quotation. So that is how weakness is considered is not considered to be masculine, right? How asking for help means you are weak and unmanly, and even to admit feelings of despair or feelings that you are struggling is is not manly per se. Whereas, we all struggle, we all can use help. There is no problem with that at all, right? And also, it is said that it's easier for men to acknowledge physical symptoms rather than emotional ones, right? So I think, I know for myself that is very true. So I can just speak for myself here. But yes, like being true to yourself, acknowledging your own emotions, and that takes courage, right? To try to understand why you're feeling that way and what can I do to address it so that maybe it doesn't happen next time. And so that acknowledging piece, right, and the fact that men might not be as in tune with their emotions means that mental health problems often go undiagnosed, right? Where men don't seek help as, maybe not as often, but also not as quickly as maybe their women counterparts, which sometimes leads also to living in denial, right? And having that kind of the gender expectation ingrained in us that men don't seek help, they deal with themselves. And I think that is also very true in the CAF community, because in the CAF, are you trained to solve problems or are you trained to seek help? I think it's to solve problems, right? We very know how things are regimented, there's a problem, we need to find a solution and resolve it, right? And so that's how CAF members are trained. So naturally, that's how they're going to resort to deal with their own issues, right? Not only with maybe their task at hand at work, but also with their own problems happening in their personal lives. It's, it is very true. Colin mentions, I'm thrilled that you made the choice to carry on. So are you saying that as a statement, Colin? Is that something that is a common saying? Oh, sorry. Raymond, mental illness almost cost me my life in 2001. Sorry, I missed that comment. And sadly, Raymond, that is not. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, and I'm happy that you're still here and that you're joining us today. And yes, and you are not alone through this. There's so many people that are struggling now, that struggling now, and that will struggle. So the more that we can play a role in being that leader of change, right, and being that role model for others to seek help, it's so important. And again, with Canadians Men's Health Month coming out in June, right, it should be a really big focus, and all year round too. But still, June is a great month for that. Other barriers. So even just the lack of interest. So that's, I was doing my research, and that was actually a common one, because the fact that you may not be as interested in mental health and stuff, while you're not as aware of what type of feelings and emotions you may experience from the mental injury, right? So then since you're not aware, then you might not seek help because you don't know it's a problem, and then maybe you're living causes to leave you in denial, right? So how that lack of interest overall can be a big factor in why men don't seek help as much as, again, their women counterparts. And then since you have a lack of interest, well, then that leads to you maybe not knowing the resources available as well. All right, so that's another goal for this presentation, is sharing resources that are available. So these were mine, and many of them had been mentioned. So that was great to see in the chat. There's one big one missing though. What could it be? There's a big one that goes right in the center there. What is what could that be? Yeah, I love what you're saying, Raymond. Admitting is strength and power. Yes. Yeah, admitting that you are and acknowledging that you are struggling takes so much courage, right? And it takes even more courage because of what is in our society that is causing a lot of these. Yes, thank you, Nathaniel. Stigma. Awesome. Yeah, so stigma is very real in our culture, and we are here to play a role in addressing it, and hopefully, minimizing any stigma that could happen if someone is seeking help, right? Or because it is a very true barrier to seeking help. The stigma that can come from that, right? Being the feeling of being judged by others if you are seeking help. It means that you're struggling, maybe you're not as strong, but we always have to reframe that as, if someone is seeking help, is to come back stronger, right? It's not because they are weak, it's because they want to come back stronger. That is the reframe that we need to have in our heads. Same as when we have a physical injury. Well, you go through physio, and you do all these exercises to come back stronger so that injury doesn't happen again, right? So here, same with mental injuries. We are seeking help to come back stronger. So the barrier of stigma, right? Studies in military populations with mental health concerns have found stigma to be a major barrier to military members seeking treatment that could increase their fitness for duty, right? So here, kind of in saying in different words, right? Seeking help can make me fitter for duty, right? If I don't, I will probably eventually have, start crashing, and our mental health continuum get closer to the red, right? Where we are not then fit for duty. So the earlier we seek help, the earlier we'll be back to our fitness, and also probably even stronger. Education is the way to a better life. I totally agree, Raymond. Well said. Well said. So now, before we move on, we have our half mark commercial break presented to you by Health Promotion. So let's have a little commercial break, and then we'll carry on after. Yeah, Carissa, it's something we started doing here, inspired from Montreal. So hopefully you can start doing it in Edmonton. Just some little commercial breaks to promote other stuff that Health Promotion is doing, such as our Bud Out Facebook group. So if you are a smoker or someone who has quit, who is looking to quit, that is a support page for you where we post different articles or whatnot on that page, and just some more support for those who are looking to quit smoking. So thank you for that commercial break created by Jackie. Now let's carry on with what can we do to help, not alleviate, what's the word I'm looking for? To reduce the stigma with mental health, right? And again, especially with men. So as Raymond said, yes, education is a way to a better life. So increasing awareness, right? And that comes from being either curious ourselves, but also through sharing our knowledge or sharing the way we see things, right? Just to be a role model, be a leader of change, right? So by talking about it, by sharing your experiences, we're hoping that others can learn from that, and that in the end, no one should be struggling alone. We and creating that awareness will help that conversation to start that conversation, and make sure that no one is feels that they are by themselves, right? And also, I saw this survey created by Movember, right, the men's health charity, and they found in the survey that they did just with men that 8 out of 10 Canadian men responded they find it helpful when someone asks if they're having a hard time. And I liked how they specifically said hard time, because I feel when you see someone, you're like, hey, how's it going? And then like, oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good too. I feel like that quick conversation at first is very automatic, right? We have the way that we respond, the way that we ask it. I think it's very, everyone has their own, but it's also, it's not only asking, are you okay? It's also like, are you having a hard time? And even with COVID, like, how are you coping through this? Right. So a bit more of just changing the language so that it's not as much that automatic response, and more, they need to think maybe a bit more about it. Right. And this is, obviously can lead more to a conversation. So but it's just changing the language around it, and just seeing how that person responds can bring some information on how they're doing. Raymond says, my name is on the Union Stewards list under addiction and mental health peer. Okay, thank you for sharing, Raymond. And sorry. And also from that same survey, they said that 40% of respondents said no one had asked how they were coping during the COVID-19 pandemic. So 40% of respondents did not feel like others were curious on how they were doing, right? So that conversation wasn't there, which could, could have done a big change, or could do a lot of change in how people are doing, right? Because we know how talking about it really helps in understanding our own emotions, but sharing them and seeing how others have struggled or how they've overcome challenges. So that conversation piece is really big. So just some findings that I wanted to share with you. So I've mentioned a few times about being a positive role model, right? Whether you are a father, a son, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, a coworker, a supervisor, right? Any role that you have in your life, you can be a role model to that person, right? Be a leader by example. Show that it is, yes, it takes courage, but it is okay to seek help, right? When you need it, you need to. When you need it, you need it, right? It should be that simple. Another one is showing acceptance and understanding and being empathetic. Right? You see that someone is struggling, so try to put yourself in their shoes, right, as much as you can. Try to understand their situation. Don't be quick to judge on why they're feeling that way, why it caused them to feel this way. Right? Maybe, and if you do see yourself having those quick thoughts on that might be minimizing their feelings, well, within yourself, just challenge yourself and question why you have those initial thoughts and what is causing you to have, to maybe judge that person that way. Right? We should really show more acceptance and understanding, especially with someone that is coming to you and is maybe showing signs of mental injury or has disclosed that they are suffering, right? Number 4, be informed and conscious about your words and actions. So here I think that relates a lot to the society's preconceived notion, right? Or not notion, but idea of how men should be and the way they should, how they should be strong and tough and not be able to show that they are struggling, right? This is something that is really creating that stigma. And here it's simple things just as making sure that our words and our actions are not causing this, not perpetuating this stigma, right? So we don't want to use any words that, may seem like someone is, as it was mentioned earlier, just like shake it off or men up, or like little expressions like that can go a long way in creating this culture that is but is discouraging men from seeking help, right? So just, it can go a long way. So start questioning yourself. That language, those actions can go a long way. And finally, look out for signs, right? As you are more aware, that often will come as well, right? As you are more educated, you know the different symptoms, you are familiar with them, then that can lead you to now perceiving more of them. And now when you do perceive one, don't turn a blind eye, right? Don't leave that unchecked. Try to check in with the person and see how they're doing. And so this brings me to the mental health continuum, right? For all the mental members in the room, you know this very well. I'm not going to go through it, but it's just a reminder how this is again a great tool to check in with the people around you and also with yourself, right? It's not meant to be a self-diagnostics tool, but it's just meant to be a refresher on some signs that you could see in someone, and also remember a reminder that it's good to know our people in the green, right, when they're healthy, so that we know when there's some changes in behavior that can be some red flags for us to be like, okay, this person might not be feeling too well. So just something I should go check in with them and see how they're doing and see how I can help, right? So those, again, mental health continuum is a great tool, just and a little reminder for today's session. So some resources that are available to our military members. There are quite a lot. There are many options. So if one doesn't work for you, you are for sure, you'll be able to find another one, and hopefully that will work well. So we have SIFMAP and EAP, so the Canadian Forces Members Assistance Program. This is fully confidential, out of chain of command, 24/7 service line that is by the phone, where you can talk to trained professional counselors who are there to help you in and maybe talking it through, but also seeing what other type of services that you may be able to use, and even themselves can do some counseling, up to 8 sessions per situation. Although I've heard that you can, if you need more, you're usually able to get some more as well. But this is totally free, available to our CAF community, and it's just a great way to get some short-term counseling where you don't necessarily have to wait maybe multiple weeks or maybe a few months to get some one-on-one time. So great service available to our CAF community. We also have the family information line, where here is a bit more for our family members of CAF members. And so here's also a phone supportive line where you can talk to counselors, available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and just to have those counseling sessions and be able to talk to someone, in a timely manner. And obviously, health services has multiple resources, whether it be a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, mental health nurse, addiction counselor, or even chaplains. They have multiple outlets for people who do need help. So it is a great place to start at the very least if you do need help. There's also OSIS, so the operational stress injury and social support. So here they also have psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers. And here is a bit more one-on-one, although with COVID, I believe it is virtual, as most things are right now. But this is where you can have some a bit more peer opportunity to talk, so some one-on-one with a peer. And then you have base chaplains. So whether you are religious or not, they do offer services to anyone of the CAF community, and just an opportunity to talk to someone. So they are there, available pretty much 24/7 at most bases, and they just a great resource and easy to contact. The MFRC also has some counselors, some psychotherapists, and some psychologists. So another place to look into. And the MFRC also have the family liaison officers. So here they can help individuals to cope with, whether it be illness, injuries, death, or any special need. The family liaison officer can do a lot. So all great resources. I went through them quickly. However, I did create a little handout for everyone with some live links. So just something to maybe save on your computer and have handy whenever the time needs, right? You might not need it now, but you might need it one day. And all those resources here can be found on this document. Click the link, and I also added some additional links for those who are curious and also just learning more, right? We talked about creating that awareness. Well, this is the first part, right? In our own education, understanding what is out there and understanding more about the mental health injuries, right? Do we have any questions? No? Please feel free to write them in the chat. But my concluding statement is that it's okay to not be okay, right? It is a sentence that I've used a lot more for myself, right? When I feel like I'm not at my best, I just, for me to acknowledge that my feelings are true, right? It's to understand that it's okay not to be okay. And also that no one should be struggling alone, especially not in 2021 with the vast amount of resources that we have. And especially as CAF members, there is a lot available to you. This is not a time when people should feel that there is nothing available to them and they can't, they need to push through this by themselves. There's so much resources out there that are there to help you. And it's, no one should be struggling alone. So again, if you have any questions, don't be shy, but that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for tuning in. We do not have any more commercials, unfortunately. I don't know if Nathaniel, because you wanted more or just because you were curious if it was over. However, for those who are eligible to win, I'll invite Jackie back to the stage to do the live draw to see who is our weekly winner for our tactical pen.
Thanks, Jeremy. Oh, you have a visitor in the background.
Oh, hey, goodness.
That just made my day.
I have a second one coming. Okay, there you go.
Oh. All right, everybody. So thanks, Jeremy, for that. That was wonderful.
Yeah, I have a pony as a pet.
Oh, they're so cute. So if there's anyone that arrived late to the webinar, which is totally fine, I just want to know if there's anyone I missed. So I got Mark and Tanya who missed the first part, but if there's anyone that would still like to be in the live prize draw right now, I can write your name down and add it to my little white bowl here.
Very official prize draw.
Yes. Very fancy. All right. I don't see any yeses, so I am going to draw a name for the winner of the Black Bear Gear Tactical Pen. I'm not going to look. And our winner this week is... Can everyone see that?
Tanya!
Tanya! So Tanya, congratulations. I will be in contact with you very shortly to arrange a pickup of your prize. Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, Tanya. And for everyone else to tune in, hopefully you learned a thing or two. And yeah, for everyone, it's coming up in a few weeks, but happy Canadian National Men's Health Month. And yeah, let's all play our role in reducing the stigma with mental health. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.